Hello guys, eBay Games here. We haven't been uploading for a while because there were no real events, but now with real life events coming back we will upload more, so stay tuned for more profiles. So today we're here with Ben Kreutzkamp, one of our newer members. And yeah, Ben, what did you do?
Yeah, I won the OTS Championship from Raid Trade in Karlsruhe. It was a 190 player event, so quite a big regional. And yeah, I played Lyrilusc Tri-Brigade, aka Bird Up. Yep.
Alright, let's get into the deck.
So I played these, well, more or less standard bird engine. 3 Warbler, best server in the deck. You always want to open this. Yeah, and then its buddy, 3 Cobalt. Warbler Cobalt is probably your strongest opening, so you want to max out on these definitely. Also, Cobalt synergizes with your Tri-Brigades. You can trigger it off Farragut, Bird Call, etc. And 3 Wagtails, slightly worse Cobalt because it doesn't combo as well with Bird Call, but in my opinion still I needed 3 of, because this deck is all about 2-card combos, so you want to increase your chances to open playable. 3 Barrel, so not everybody plays this at 3, since it's kind of a follow-up play or end-of-combo play for people, since this locks you into these monsters, but I found that you increase your chance to open playable at all if you max out on these, since even if you just open yellow with Cobalt or Wagtail, you can still end on F-Zero and Robin, which is already quite strong.
Also, it works great with Small World because it gives you like more monsters.
It works with Small World because you can always exchange it for something else and then 1 swallow. This is probably the worst of the birds. You need to play it to combo. It's a situational extender, and therefore I didn't want to play more than 1. Since it doesn't start your plays. If you get interrupted on something, you most likely won't be able to resolve this unless you have a lot of birds in hand. So I decided to just play 1. The second one actually came up like once in the tournament, where I could have played through a board if I had a second swallow turn 3, I believe. But other than that, 1 was totally fine. Of course, everything is super searchable in the deck, so you always have access to everything if you start your combo. 3 Bird Call, it's rolled a bit better, so definitely should max out on those. Yeah, that's it for the bird engine. And then for the Tri-Brigade engine, I decided to cut it down quite a bit. I only played 3 Fractal and the Tanky, because they're effectively more copies of your Burst and Grave that you want to trigger with Warbler or Barrel. And then I only played 2 Nerval, since this is not really a starter, but you always search it in the combo. Some people play 3, which is fine as well, but this is not really a starter for you. You don't want to ever normal summon Nerval, go Karis, pitch, and then just banish for 2. That's a really weak opening. So just playing 2 is fine. You don't really need it in the grind game. And then I played 1 kit, since I played Oath. It's mandatory, you don't have to play it if you play the deck without Oath, but I think Oath is definitely correct right now with so much going second decks running around, going second Sword Soul, Striker, decks that just main deck blowout cards in general, and the 1 Karis as an extender. And yeah, I played Oath, as I said before.
What kind of hand do you need to go for Oath combo?
Oath combo, I mean, Warbler, Sparrow, the classic hand is just Oath combo. Fractal can replace Warbler or Wagtail, of course, if you open Sparrow, if you open the Warbler. So it's very situational, but most hands can go into it. Like if you open just 2 or 3 random monsters in this deck, you can most likely end on Oath combo. And then yeah, what makes this profile probably a little bit more special is Small World. I decided to play Small World with Dinotherium as a target because it searches literally any monster in your deck. We discovered this during testing and thought it just would make perfect sense to play this because Dinotherium synergizes kind of with your Tri-Engine since it's a beast, it's searchable, I mean, you probably don't want to search it, but it comes up sometimes. You can banish it for Tri-Brigade, you can discard it for Karas. I guess you can use it as an extender for Fairies as well. But most of the time you're going to be banishing it from Small World because Dinotherium is a wind monster, so it shares exactly one specific thing with the birds, because it's a beast and obviously the attack stats don't match. And then since it's level 4, it matches exactly one thing with Fractal, so you can always banish the Fractal or get a Fractal whenever you need it. Since it's a beast, same works for Kit and Karas. Whatever you need in your deck, you got it accessible. Since it's wind, it also works with stuff like Droll, and the cute thing is actually because it's 600 defense, that's the same as Nibiru. So you can actually use this with Nibiru as well. So you can banish Nibiru or get Nibiru whenever you want with Smolder as well, which is really cool. So basically, any monster in this deck, even hand trips, gets you to anything.
So this is basically the perfect target, like for small wind.
Yeah, I mean in this deck it's perfect. Like what do you want more from a small word target? Of course, it's not like a hand trip that you would play anyways, but it's not necessarily a hard brick. So just playing this to be able to small world for anything, always have Warbler access if you want it, because that's, as I said, your probably strongest cards going first and going second, because it just plays into boards that well. Just makes this deck very, very consistent and extremely strong and scary to face. And then yeah, I play one Apex Avian. It's the brick you have to play for Simurg. Makes your board better and makes your control matchups very, very easy, especially with the targeting protection. And then for non-engine, I played 3 Gamma, 1 Driver. Generic hand trip that only works going second. I wanted to play this because it also can hit stuff like the Longion hand effect if they go that route, because otherwise Sword Soul is weird to interrupt if they start Longion. Also it's super generic, so the regional I thought, okay, let's just bring something like Gamma that can hit literally every deck except like Trap Stun. Because it will never be dead. Of course, stuff like Lancia, etc. could be a cute main deck call right now, but for regionals of this size, I think something like Gamma is definitely a solid choice.
Also, like, you can still, if you draw multiple Gammas, you can banish it off Small World.
Yeah, you can banish it off Small World.
With Kit for a Fractal.
Yeah, because it shares the level 2 with Kit and Karas, and then you banish Kit and get Fractal because they share the Fire attribute. Yeah, 3 Imperm, basically same reasoning as Gamma. It's very generic, it hits the top decks, and what makes this good is that the Oath combo actually is getting more popular in birds. So in the mirror you can just wait till they normal summon the Kit and go for want to go for the Shrike, and then you Imperm the Kit, and they are most likely stuck there. They have very few ways of extending from there if they didn't open like multiple more engine pieces. There's ways to play around that, but the linear combo that most people play right now plays hard into Imperm. So it's a good call, even though generally Burst just eats hand traps. Yeah, and then I played 3 Droplets. Droplets, again, is always live against mostly anything, especially game 1 if most decks don't already FTK you. Let's say Sword Soul is most likely not using Protest turn game 1, so you can kill their board with Droplet and then play through. The Mirror, if they're not playing the Oath combo, you can also just break their board with Droplet, and in general every deck kind of gets hurt by Droplet at least in some way. And the Lyrilusc engine itself is so strong that it can break through like 1 or 2 more additional interruption that you cannot Droplet. The discards don't really hurt. You have normal triggers, you have the Kobold and the Webkill that oftentimes you want to have engrave, or that it's not neck for them to be engraved because World Lyrilusc can revive them. And one Imperial Order, don't you love it?
Yeah, just mine out also. Like,
Yeah,
it's just basically FTK.
Yeah, FTK is a lot of decks. It's a mine out. You need to play it. I mean, you need to play one mine out. It doesn't necessarily need to be order, but there's a lot of going second Sorcerer running around for some reason, and yeah, that's basically just Mystic Mine Turbo. Yeah, so for the extra deck. Yeah, for the Lyriluscs, we have 2 Recital starting. Some people play 3, which is fine, I can see it, but you really only need 2. If you need the 3rd so desperately, you can revive it with Warblower Barrel. But realistically, you should be good with 2. I never needed a 3rd one in this tourney or the weeks in testing before. So yeah, I went with 2. One Robin. Broken extra deck monster, very good support. A lot of decks just die to this alone. Good follow-up, you can often make this if you get roll or whatever. Then Nightingale, very underrated card actually. People know that it's played in Drytron to make Zeus because it can attack directly and stuff, but the protection effect is actually very strong because in Lyrilusc you can actually make it Kobold, which prevents targeting as well. So if you have a Nightingale on board that cannot be targeted, cannot be destroyed by card effects or battle, if you don't take battle damage, and let's say you have a Whack-Tail Engrave that you can attach every turn, a lot of decks have a really hard time outing that. So you can just stall them, which I did in round 7. I stalled my invoked opponent who put me on the window, so I couldn't Zeus him. I just made Nightingale, attacked for a bit, and then passed. And his Dogmatica engine couldn't actually out this, so he had to pass back and then got Zeus because I could attack directly, summon Zeus because it was just one special summon at that point. Yeah, well, that's acute interaction, oftentimes underrated. You can go for OTKs with this, but it's kind of gimmicky and oftentimes it's more like 4k or 3k damage.
It only really comes up with Sanctuary or something, like, but that's not worth.
Yep.
Right, probably.
Yeah, at least not in this deck I wouldn't play Sanctuary. It's like an additional one-off target for Wagtail, but I think here it's not needed. Then yeah, the Utopic Future and Utopic Draco Future package. Extra negates, good protection. It's good in the combo because it forces Nib rather early. So also it's a body on board with attack stats. That's actually important in this deck because all your other boss monsters don't really pressure your opponent. Downward Zeus. Some people don't play Downward. I don't know why. Yes, this deck can theoretically put up Zeus for 4 materials by itself without Downward, but this just makes it so much easier in complicated game states. One Zeus. You could play 2. I didn't have the space. Doesn't really come up in my opinion. From the Tri-Brigades, 1 Farragut, 2 Omen. 2 Omen because we play Oath, so we go through 1 turn 1, and then we want to have 1 for follow-up. 1 Farragut, more isn't really needed. You don't really kill with a lot of Tri-Brigade plays, you don't play Access Code and whatever, so you only want 1. And then we have double Dragon Lords as an extra Tri-Brigade target, as well as Simorgh. Yeah, I don't think they need much explaining. Simorgh is really broken, especially in this deck. You can summon a lot of stupid stuff from it. I didn't really run a lot of tech card for it, just Apex A-game basically, because I think it's not really necessary to win, and you would rather use the spots differently.
So you wouldn't consider like Barrier Statue or something?
I mean, Barrier Statue is okay. If you want to play it against Drytron and cut Apollo, that's fine. But I don't think it's needed. It uses the same cards as the rest of the end board. Don't really see a reason to. And yeah, then there's stuff like Dark Simorgh, which is cute, but backrow decks aren't prevalent enough. Double Dragon Lords is nice to out stuff. Sometimes you lack the outs because you can't always go for Shrike. You want to put up like Interruption and Simplified game states. Actually won me a game today against my Dolce. And yeah, obviously Simorgh is really broken. wins the grind alone against control decks. The targeting protection can be abused very easy in this deck. And then Almarash and Apollo. Almarash, I don't think needs much explanation. It's just normal summon the board, get it into grave, normal summon Nerval, kit, get it into grave. Sometimes can help you against like Enforcer or Blackout as a protection, but yeah, that's very situational going second. Apollo is not really needed in this deck. It's just there for Drytron and weird turn 3 plays where you want to play around in the beer, play around different hand traps, and play it super safe, but usually you don't make this very often.
Alright.
Yeah, then for the side deck, I decided to run 3 Nip, even though it's not very good against decks on its own right now, but because I play a lot of generic hand traps, it I think becomes much better, because Nibiru with another card in combination is FTK going second, and it always trades with something, so it's never really dead. Then I played 3 Lancia. It's good against Invoke, it's good against Sword Tool because you prevent Protoss, since basically the only thing you care about in Sword Tool is Protoss. The rest of the board is rather breakable with Engine, and also you prevent the Tenyis. Lancia came in clutch against Invoke actually today.
Yep.
Then Droll. Yeah, Droll is a stupid card. Wins you the game against Drytron, wins you a lot of games in the mirror, wins you a lot of games against Invoked. Only reason why I'm not maining this is Rogue decks and Phantom Knights actually. Because Phantom Knights and Sword Soul, I guess. Phantom Knights and Sword Soul is just kind of weird into. You prevent something sometimes, but nothing really that I'd want to main in an event where you expect those decks to be the top tier contenders. Yeah. And then for back removal, I played Twin Twister. I needed something that I could also have as a mine node, so I didn't want to run Storm. Also, this is better against Invoke, obviously, because you can hit the Schism. Yeah, won me the game against Invoked actually today. And I think I'd always run it again over Storm and Cosmic. I think hitting multiple back row is important because you don't really have a lot of stuff to force back row. Your back row matchup, even though if you're establishing Zeus or Simurgh is very good, getting there is very hard because you don't have a lot of tools to force certain interactions. That's why I thought, okay, you need a mass removal card, and I didn't want to run Storm because of the Mind decks, and that's why we had Twin Twister. And our most beloved Herpes Feather Storm. Stupid card. Could actually just consider main-nicking it if there wasn't that big of a need to run multiple hand trips if you run hand trips at all. But yeah, if you go first and draw this card, you win. It's really, really stupid. It's as a thought for a turn. Doesn't even have that big of a requirement, just control a Wind Winged Beast. So yeah, play through any hand trip, win the game.
So would you make any changes to the deck?
It's bothering me that it's 41 cards. I'm still trying to find out what to cut. But overall, I was really, really happy. I wasn't too sure about running hand trip before the tournament. It was kind of a last minute call because I felt board breakers were kind of shifting out of the at least meta for this regional. But they were okay. They weren't as terrible as I thought before, especially Imperm came clutch a few times. I mean, Gamma, of course, is always a love-hate relationship. It's dead going first, it's dead if you draw, like, you can draw the dead driver. But it's still pretty impactful, and I think for now I'm really happy with this list. Of course, depends, like, to whatever event you go to, you have to adjust your side deck and patterns and whatever you expect to be most played, but I think for this event I'm really happy with the list.
Sure. Any shoutouts?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, shoutouts to my team, Eamon Games. Then shoutouts to Tab by his bird sheet. He put in a lot of work to make this deck what it is right now. I used a lot of his combos to learn this, and yeah, also shoutouts to 100%, all the people that helped me test from there. Yeah.
Alright, thanks Ben, and see you guys at the next profile.